Well, hey there, church. It is Friday, March 5th, and I want to give you a quick update on some of the decisions we made in our members meeting this past Sunday, if you were not able to be there. Three motions were presented, and a couple of them were pretty standard motions. One was we had a motion to accept our budget for 2021, which was approved and with no fanfare there. The main thing in our budget this year is, as we're continuing to grow, we need to begin to look at some part-time staffing, and so we'll begin looking for an admin as well as possibly some kind of intern/pastoral assistant to help with various ministry needs that we have in a church right now. Again, the elders are beginning to pray through this and think through this, and we've kind of had these things in our budget, but we've never designated any money for it. But I think this year we're going to begin to get those things in place, those people in place, if the Lord provides. So that was the first motion that was approved, was our budget for 2021. The second motion that was approved was the nomination of Tom and Katie Garrett to be deacons in our church. As you know, in our church, deacons are there to come alongside the elders and pastors to help facilitate ministry, care, and love for our congregation, do administrative responsibilities, and so on and so forth. So Tom and Katie will be rolling into the children's director role that has been presently and has been for quite a while been filled by Monda Bradley. Monda, of course, several other ladies have helped with this role as well throughout the years, but she's been so faithful to make sure our children's ministry was a top-notch children's ministry for a church plant, and so we're very thankful for her efforts. But her desire is to begin to give her attention to to ministry to internationals, ministry to immigrants here in our area, and she'd love to help see our church get more involved in that community and in those efforts. So as she does so, we're going to free her up, and we're going to begin to look at the next generation. And if you know anything about Tom and Katie, you know that they love Jesus, they love our church, they love children, and you put all that together, they have a deep passion for our children's discipleship and to help parents get the most out of discipling their kids at home, but of course of having a solid Sunday morning Bible study experience for all of our children. So they're going to be excellent leaders in this ministry in the next phase of our children's ministry. So we're pretty excited about that as well. The third thing that we had a motion on and we voted in was the starting of a building fund, a separate building fund from our general fund. This will be a place where we'll begin to gather money and resources for our future home. This is a all-inclusive fund, so this is only going to be one-time thing. We may have different emphases as we go along, depending on what the Lord leads us towards, but it's one building fund. And that building fund is there to help us begin to think about what it's going to cost for us to get into our own home in the near future. Let's say 5 to 7 years. Guys, real estate's expensive. You know this in our area, and especially commercial real estate. And so we want to make sure that we're going ahead and getting our ducks prepared. We can't wait till the last minute. So we're asking you, and we're asking our church to be sacrificially give over and above their normal general giving, so that we can begin to put some money aside for our future home, whatever that may be. Now, there's lots of options out there. There's people who have asked questions, could we possibly buy the building we're in? Well, that's a possibility. We have first right of refusal. But there's some questions about, one, what will it cost for us to get this thing up code once we have to add to it? Will it be big enough for us? If we have to add to it, what will be the process of us making sure that we can get that approved through the town of Smyrna? So there's a lot of things that would have to be considered over the next few years as to whether or not this particular building, but we do believe it'll serve us well for the next several years. At least it'll be tight, I think, by the time that we're done with it, but I do believe that it'll serve us well for the next few years. Now, so this building fund is a way to help us get ourselves moving in the right direction. Now, one other part of that motion was that we approved as a church to spend up to $30,000 of that building fund as funds become available to do needed work around the building, mostly cosmetic and updates to make the building fit more of our ministry needs. And so we set out a little plan. We showed you a floor plan of kind of things we're thinking about doing. None of those things are hardened in stone right now, but most of it's paint, carpet, chairs, maybe some small light modifications. There's going to be some commercial doors being rechanged out on the building, which will be, of course, an expense of the denomination itself who owns the building. But there's some really good things coming up down the road for us, and so we want this building to service as well as possible. We don't want it to be a hindrance to our ministry, but we want to get it cleaned up and get it nice and neat, and hopefully be a welcoming environment for people to come and grow with us. We've been averaging somewhere around 30 to 35 new bodies a year the last couple of years. And that's after you have you have a family or two leave during each year. And so right now we're seeing God really do some some things. So if we do conservative numbers, let's say 25 people a year over 5 years, we're talking about another 125 people could possibly be with us within the next 5 years. That's about doubling what we have right now. And so that means that this building would be tight for us, whether we have two services, which again is not our favorite, and we're going to try to avoid doing that as much as possible, but it may not be something we can avoid, at least a season. So we know that there's just going to be lots of questions and lots of things we're going to have to decide to do in the near future. Okay, so all that being said is let's get on board, man. Let's all get in. Let's jump in. Let's begin to give over and above what we can. Begin to designate some money each month if you can, or each quarter, or maybe you have some savings aside, or maybe you have some other means to be able to give. Maybe you want to make some sacrifices in your budget to make some room for that. However the Lord leads, but let's do it. Let's all get in. I've already begun that process for our family, and we're excited about being a part of it for the next few years, and we're trusting the Lord to provide well for our church during that time. All right, guys, well, there's a lot going on in our church, and so we look forward to staying locked in, stay plugged in. We'll see you Sunday. Make Sunday corporate worship and that Sunday morning Bible study a priority for your family. Unless you are providentially hindered because of health reasons or any other reasons that are legitimate, please make that a priority for us. It's something that we make a big deal of at Grace, and not because we're trying to make sure we're trying to count numbers, but because we believe the body should gather on Sundays. Okay, so hope to see you Sunday. We'll be preaching on John chapter 3, verse 22 through 30 on I must decrease and he must increase. And it's going to be a wonderful reflection on, reminding ourselves of kind of what our roles are in the assignments that God has given us. Okay. I love you, church. I'll see you Sunday morning at 9 o'clock for Sunday school and 10:30 for worship. See you then.